All right, to be determined, Friday show, episode 9. I think I got the numbers
We're
up there.
keeping up with it.
I believe we're up to the 9th episode, and it's a Friday show on a Saturday, and the entire
So
reason...
You just fibbed.
entire reason, okay, all right. Entire reason we're doing this on a Saturday is thanks to free agency stuff. It just blew up on Friday, and we knew the NHL stuff was going to start on Saturday, so we delayed this a day and figured, hey, you'll be able to listen to it all weekend type deal. Matt's smiling for the audio version. Matt's giving me the biggest grin in the world. So we got 2 topics today. NBA free agency, NHL free agency. The lead, obviously the NBA, and it has been all free agency, all off-season. It peaked last night, I guess, with the Steph Curry deal being announced on Friday night. Largest contract in NBA history, a 5-year, $201 million deal. What? Who negotiated the extra $1 million there? What's the point there?
Yeah, if you're an OCD guy, or even like OCD parallel, this freaks you out.
Yes, I'm not that OCD, but that's just go with $200 million.
It's good because before these last couple of days, Mike Conley Jr. was the highest paid NBA player of all time. He's a fine player, but to have the biggest NBA contract of all time for Mike Conley Jr. is just asinine.
Yeah, that's not good. I didn't realize that.
I'm surprised this money is coming for Steph Curry right now in terms of the outlook of the Warriors. Granted, he has been underpaid because of injuries and some stuff early on in his career. He's been underpaid for a good amount of time now.
He was on a 4-year, $44 million deal, so $11 million per year. I mean, that's the most team-friendly deal maybe in NBA history.
Yeah.
For that guy.
But I'm surprised right now because Kevin Durant showed that he is far and away the biggest deal on that team. That he was the biggest reason, by a long shot, if you ask me, for them winning the title. And Klay Thompson is an elite defender, which Steph Curry is not. Plus, he's also a splash brother in terms of the other side of the ball. And Draymond Green, I'm not saying maybe he deserves more money than Stephen Curry, but he also provides a lot more things. He does everything at a high level. A lot more things than Steph Curry. I guess I'm surprised in the outlook right now for the Warriors that he is not only their highest player, the highest player, or the highest paid player, I should say, in NBA history.
How about Blake Griffin re-signing with the Clippers? I mean, there was some drama around this, or there's been some drama around this organization over the past 48, 72 hours with Chris Paul being shipped out and then him saying, I really didn't like the head coach and one of their head coach's son. I mean, it's amazing to me that there's all this drama, and then, Blake Griffin, in essence, signing a max deal. I don't know if it is technically a max deal, but it's $173 million over, 5 years? That's a good chunk of change.
He is now the second highest paid. It's funny. Just the last... 12 hours, we get the 2 top highest paid guys in NBA history. So he is 2, little bit behind Steph Curry there. But the trade that we're about to talk about in a second, I don't know if it's that much more surprising than this. Because Blake Griffin, like you talked about with Austin Rivers and Doc Rivers, you had that coming out in the media. And then the fact that Chris Paul is gone and they got him to re-sign with the Clippers is absurd. Who would have thought that was going to be coming? It seemed like all the ingredients were going to be pushing him to Boston or another NBA team, and he re-signed. He must really like DeAndre Jordan.
I was going to say, I don't understand Blake Griffin's... I get that it's the dollars. If you want to sign for more dollars, I get that that's where you're going to. I don't get the appeal of the Clippers right now. They don't seem to have much of a direction.
Yeah, big names on paper for a while now, but in terms of postseason success, it's not there. They are not able to get past the first round of the playoffs. We've seen with that big 3 that they compiled there recently that's now getting pulled apart, at least with Chris Paul. But I wonder how much of it is off the court. Granted, LeBron James from Cleveland, he has to deal with Warner Brothers. He has his office out there. But you have all the Funny or Die stuff. He actually interned for Funny or Die and Will Ferrell and Adam McKay when there was the lockout. So I wonder if that pull of the off the court stuff really wants him to be in Los Angeles.
I don't know. It could be. It could. I
We'll
mean,
see.
listen. There's plenty of opportunities to make money in LA. So that's and it could be. It could be the opportunity for financial gain. It could be the contract. It could be the lifestyle. I got a feeling it's kind of that whole mixture. Is all three of those is what kept him there.
And people were talking about Brandon Marshall when this offseason earlier on for the NFL, we were wondering where he was going to go, and people were talking about, hey, this guy's the HBO show.
Yeah.
He wants to stay at least close to that, does that once a week.
Showtime.
Showtime. No, Stars. Cinemax.
It's not Stars. He's on Showtime because it's a
Encore.
CBS deal.
He's got that Encore deal.
Nobody has Encore, right? I mean, have you ever watched Encore?
Not the best. It's not the best of the premium cable, okay?
I've never watched Encore. All right, so let's go to some of the trades then. And we mentioned Chris Paul, so that's the natural segue. The Clippers, again, I hate to reiterate this, but they don't seem to have quite a direction. They seem to be kind of lost just in the shuffle of things. Now they're shipping out their point guard. Houston seems to be one of the hottest up-and-coming teams, I guess, right now in this offseason. Chris Paul and James Harden both, and this is the discussion. It was the same thing with the Warriors a year ago. There's only one ball. And these are two guys that both like to have the ball in their hands, so how does this play?
There's some weird ringing. I hope you don't hear it.
I heard a little bit of a banging, that's it.
No, not really banging as much, but oh no. It's like some old clock or something.
Now I'm hearing it. It's like a bomb is about to go off there, Matty.
Yes.
I'm a little nervous. I'm a little concerned for your well-being right now.
It's getting faster. Why is it getting faster?
That's not good at all.
All right. We're going to power through it because I have no idea where it is.
Oh, good God.
So, yeah, Chris Paul. And gosh, what a big freaking trade.
Wow, I'm hearing it now. I hope that gets picked up.
I'm not okay with this. At this point, I just want it to explode. And hopefully it's a contained explosion. It's away from me, and we can just go on with our lives here. But Chris Paul, how many freaking players were in that deal? Unbelievable. I love the Sam Decker to the Clippers. Let's see if they can help him out, a young talent like him that Houston definitely wasn't able to. But you mentioned it, one ball. Chris Paul, I don't know if he can play off the ball in that backcourt. But James Harden, the fact that...
Well, I think James Harden can, though, right? I mean, that's, to me,
well, yeah,
he's a guy
that's what he
can.
did for his entire career. But just the fact that he made such a big MVP push against a guy in Russell Westbrook who ended up winning it, man, that is annoying.
It is. Power through it, buddy. Power through it.
So in Russell Westbrook, that won the MVP, he did some Oscar Robertson type stuff. He averaged a triple-double. But the fact that Harden was so close because he changed positions and then did what he did in the assist column in the entire NBA. So this is a guy, yes, he's been mostly a shooting guard in his career playing off the ball. But look what he did as a point guard in his first year at it. And then they go out and get Chris Paul, another point guard. It doesn't seem like the timing of it is just so weird. I don't know if it's going to work. The
argument to me is Chris Paul is such a talented guy that if you have the opportunity, finally, no explosion, there it is. To me, Chris Paul is such a talented guy. If you have the opportunity to go acquire a piece like that, you do it.
Yeah, I don't know. At this point in his career, he's doing it. But
dude, he's so still young. How long has he been in the league?
Chris Paul's been in the league.
For how long, though, is what I'm asking.
Oh, he's been in the league a little bit.
I'm going to try to look this up. Because I don't have it on the...
I'm going to itch my face.
I mean, okay, so he's 32. He's been in the league... Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, he's been in the league since 2005, when he was the 4th overall pick out of Wake.
Yeah, I mean... One of his former teams isn't even a team anymore, the New Orleans Hornets. So
well, they're still a team in New Orleans, but the Hornets are now in Charlotte.
Yeah, they're not. They're not even. It's not a name anymore. It's two different organizations now. They broke up.
True.
I mean,
well, you know what? I didn't realize that he had been in the league since 2005 and that he was 32. He doesn't strike me as a guy that's 32. To me, it's a little shocking, but I don't follow the NBA as closely as you do, so that Yeah, well, I mean, listen, we'll see. Can he give you 2 good years, 3 good years? Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe.
and
I mean, listen,
right now is when you want it.
if he just has to get the ball uh, to Harden, I think he can do that. I mean, it's no different than what he's been doing. I don't know. I think it's
The
an
timing's
interesting
so
move. All right, so the biggest trade of the of last night was Paul George. Uh, Indiana shipping Paul George to Oklahoma City. This one is maybe the most interesting deal, I guess. Just to
yes,
see
this
how
was the
these
biggest
two
shock.
guys work together. I What do you got on this trade?
It's absurd. I said it for a couple of these moves so far, but it's the fact that no one was talking about the Thunder as a possible landing spot.
That's true. That's true. It came out of nowhere.
Absolutely crazy. It came out of nowhere, and then right along the same time as that comes out, you hear what the deal was that Boston was giving up, and just all sorts of big time players and starters and draft picks, and they didn't want it, and they go for this deal. It just, I think it's going to work out a little bit more because these aren't guys that play similar positions like you're seeing with
Hmm.
what we just talked about in Houston. But poor Victor Oladipo, he's kind of like a Rudy Gay or Yoenis Cespedes when it comes to MLB, a solid player that gets moved all the time. So I think Indiana can come away with a little bit of something there. But Paul George, let's see. He showed that he came back from the injury in a big way. He's healthy. Let's see what he can do when, I mean, obviously he's not going to be the top option there because the guy just won the MVP in Russell Westbrook
Yeah.
like he was in Indiana. But I think the fact that they're different positions, even though Russell Westbrook, he's not a pure point guard, then that will definitely, I think, open up a lot more opportunities to hit people in different ways, the two of them.
Two things on the Paul George trade. One, as you mentioned, Russell Westbrook. I
So
combined
many
the
R's
names
and
there.
W's.
Too many for me. He's the guy there, so he's going to be the guy that's taking that last second shot. If they're in a situation where someone needs to have the ball in the final 10 seconds and they need, 2 points, 3 points for the win, that's Westbrook doing it. It's not Paul George. Whereas in Indiana, it was Paul George, and we saw him. He missed those shots. That was maybe the one thing you could point to with Paul George that, okay, those last second shots where that Gatorade commercial. The
I
Gatorade
was about to
commercial is a
say,
falsehood. He doesn't
hey,
actually do that. He could make 31 straight buckets, and it comes down to that last second one, and he'll miss it. And that's just been the story of Paul George, at least in Indiana. A tremendous player, I think, on both ends of the floor. He can get it done for you. But now the pressure of that last second shot is suddenly taken off of him, and he can just play for 47 minutes and 50 seconds with no pressure and realize that I don't have to be the guy that takes that last second shot, that they're relying on me for that last second shot. Secondly, a lot has been made of Paul George telling Indiana that he would not re-sign, that after next year he wanted to explore free agency. He has been gutted for that, I think, in some media publications and in public circles, and I don't understand why. I don't get it. He did the team a favor. If you stay silent, they don't know whether to trade you or not. By you telling them, I'd like to explore free agency, now they can maneuver some pieces, try to get other people in place, try to make a deal, try to get something for nothing rather than just be left without anything, rather than roll the dice.
now they have Victor Oladipo. Like, that wouldn't have happened if he didn't verbalize it.
So now
I absolutely agree with that.
So he did a favor to Indiana, and he did a favor to the Pacers. The people of Indiana should have no ill will towards Paul George. The guy wanted to explore free agency, fine. He's not the first to do that. He's not from Indiana, to my knowledge.
It's a business.
It's a
Yeah.
business decision. If LeBron can leave his hometown to explore a championship elsewhere, Paul George has the right to do that as well. And LeBron left Cleveland with nothing. Not that Cleveland would have been able to trade LeBron. I'm not trying to say that, but he up and left them with nothing in return, and just
Not even
went to
cash
Miami
considerations.
well, and that
Make a joke.
I know the cash considerations thing is ridiculous. It really is, but that's a different discussion. So I would tip my hat to Paul George because of what he did. I love that move from Paul George. That's a team-friendly move. If in your heart of hearts, if you know you're not happy in this situation, and listen, Paul George knows it, he cannot compete right now. Anywhere in the East, if you're not on LeBron James's team, you're not competing. Now, it just so happens he goes to the West, which is completely loaded. The West is ridiculous right now. If you look at the players in the West and then the players in the East, the players in the West are like pages and pages of all-stars and, unbelievable talent. In the East, it's LeBron James. And maybe a couple other guys.
Well, so yeah, that's definitely hyperbole to a certain degree, but yeah.
But, I mean, in all seriousness, the list of stars in the West is far greater than the list of the stars in the East at this point.
Absolutely.
And the teams that can compete.
I don't think the Pacers really wanted Paul George around when you look at the all-encompassing him being on that team aspect because, yes, he's obviously a very good player, but he wasn't a great teammate down the stretch. You had all of those issues with C.J. Miles and him scolding another guy around his same age that is a starter on this team. And you don't really want – it was kind of a bad situation. I think it helps all parties personally when you really look at it, that the fact that this deal happened.
Yeah, I like it. Anything else on the NBA?
We covered the big ones, and, man, there was a lot of big ones. A lot of them came out of left field. And I just want to mention, very sad – that Spanish Pete, Ricky Rubio. Jeff Teague went to Minnesota. No more Ricky Rubio. No more mop top with the Timberwolves. But he's still in the NBA, so I guess I can't be too bummed.
All right, let's move to the NHL then. The big-name free agent Kevin Shattenkirk still out there. There was a report that was not confirmed that he was signing with New York, the Rangers. No update as I'm seeing this right now. So that report was false, or at least just not done at this point.
Kevin Shattenkirk. I got to find this Twitter handle.
It opened up, it was like 22 Shat or something like that.
Shat Douches.
Shat Deuces, there we go. Interesting name. So we've had some interesting moves. Patrick Sharp headed back to Chicago. The Blackhawks, I mean, when you talk about culture and guys sacrificing, I think of the Patriots first, but the Blackhawks are there too. You got your two superstars in Taves and Kane, and those guys make an absurd amount of money. But after that, they really are able to just pick up those veteran pieces to come along the way, and Patrick Sharp returning to Chicago is just another example of that. He's not obviously the biggest name in free agency. The Sabres have signed two guys. Benoit Pouliot, the left winger from the Canadiens, the Habs, and the Oilers. And then we see the return of Ocho Cinco in Chad Johnson in goal. He signs a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. And Johnson was very good. Some would argue that Johnson competed for the starting job, or should have competed for the starting job a few years ago when he was here. But I think Tim Murray probably nixed that simply because he was obsessed with Leonard and gave up so much to get Leonard. I think Johnson moves into the backup role right off the bat, simply because of what Leonard did last year, and again, what you gave up for him. But the Sabres have been fairly active, not really active. I mean, they had the big trade already, and that's what Marco Scandella and Jason Pominville coming back to Buffalo. That was your quote-unquote blockbuster deal, and I may be pronouncing Scandella's last name incorrectly.
I think that's correct.
He's the big piece of that. People will point to Pominville and say that's what we see as the big piece of this, because he played here and he meant so much to this organization for a long period of time. He meant so much for the Amherst organization. This is a guy that came up through Rochester and had to do it the old school difficult way of starting in the minor leagues and then working his way up to being in the National League. I like what the Sabres have done so far. You add veteran leadership in Pominville. You address your need on defense with Scandella. He's not a guy that's going to jump off the page. He's not going to give you those massive offensive numbers, but as Fots Matthew Collar talked about on Twitter and on WGR 550, his former employer, he talked about the speed, the size, his puck-moving capabilities. And that's all what you want under this new regime, under this Phil Housley defensive-minded regime. That's what you're looking for. And to me, he fits that perfectly. Now, is he going to help Ristolainen out? Maybe. There's, some speculation that he'll be a top 2 guy. I don't know. I think you got to get through camp. I mean, we just don't know what to expect from Housley at this point. I don't know how he's going to see the chips at this point.
The blue line. Yes. I know that has to make you happy.
It does.
But the fact that Pominville at this point in his career is coming over, and Brian Giunta, we're waiting a few weeks to see what he was going to be doing in terms of this team, if he's going to retire. I wonder if this pushes him out, because Pominville, maybe not quite as much of a veteran as Brian Giunta for the Sabres now, but he comes in as a similar role, because he was the second or third biggest guy in terms of production right now at this point in his NHL career in this move. You were mentioning a second ago with Scandella being obviously out in front, even though maybe not as big of a name as Pominville. But I wonder what's going to happen, what chips will fall because of that, if any, with Brian Giunta, who's obviously a huge name for this team as well, hometown guy sort of.
And the captain, I mean, he wore the C last year, so you wonder, with Jack Eichel's pending negotiations that should start after free agency quiets down, if they're not already in some discussion at this point, you wonder where that leaves Giunta, as you said, and I think it's on the outside looking in, unfortunately. I don't think he's going to have a contract offer from the Sabres. He's an unrestricted free agent, and he's, 37 now?
Oof.
He's in his late 30s. Still very productive. I think he had more points than his age last year. If I can...
That's awesome.
Pull this up quickly.
Well, while you're looking that up, I wonder what will happen on the other side, the other team in this, not obviously the local one, the Sabres, if Tyler Ennis can stay healthy. Let's see what can happen with that. It's very, very interesting.
He's a guy that I think needed a change of scenery.
Just you get all these bad memories with injuries. Why not?
And that's what it is. He struggled with injuries. Giunta's 38.
Oh, he's older than we thought. Oh, boy.
Older than we thought. Last year had 35 points, so almost his age. 15 goals, 20 assists. Played in all 82 games last year. I think that's important, the fact that he was able to dress for 82. You look at his Sabres career 3 years ago when he signed in 2014. I mean, this was clearly a team in transition. 69 games, 79 games his second year, and then all 82 last year. So he's a guy that's there. We talk about the NFL, because it's only 16 games, if you're not available for one, how big that is. But really, in the NHL, if you're not available for 5, 6, 7, 8 games, that's a big deal. That's a big deal on this schedule. And here's a guy at the age of 37, probably this past year, I think 36, 37, 38-ish. Trying to figure out when his birthday is. January 18th, so 37, 38, who played in every single game. He hasn't done that since 2010, 2011 when he was with the Canadiens. So, is he still a productive player? Yeah, he had more points this year than last year. But again, for what are you going to pay him? What is he going to demand in terms of a contract? It seemed to be like you give him this deal 3 years ago because he's a hometown kid. He's a Western New York kid. He's coming home to the building that he was drafted in, some odd years ago. Is his time up? I hate to think it, but it might be. It might be that time. Now, if he still wants to kick the can somewhere, there might be a team that wants to sign him. I just don't know that it's going to be in Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants it to be anywhere besides Buffalo, besides close to home. But January 18th, Capricorn? No, I have no idea. I don't think about that stuff. But I think you have to quickly gauge, if you're in this front office, if Pominville can be the same type of big-time locker room guy, veteran guy, for a team that's still very young. Because obviously Giunta is somebody who's good at that. Let's see if Pominville can do the same. It's tough to gauge. Yep. It's tough to gauge right now until there's games happening, and at least preseason games happening, and you see him in the actual game setting in the locker room with all these guys.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's a good point. He's been away for so long that the locker room, I think, is completely different. And Gio was a guy that obviously was very respected in that locker room. I heard Jack Eichel on a podcast on Friday. He was on Spit and Chicklets, and he mentioned that Gio was, always the first guy in the building at age 38, and he was the DJ of the locker room, which is in hockey
Wait, what?
terms, it's a big deal. So he would get the music ready, and I think it's simply because he was probably the first guy in and wanted to hear something. But yeah, that's a huge presence in the locker room. So if you don't sign Gio, and here we go down the trail of what ifs, but it's a big question. Who wears the C? A lot of people, I think, want to see Jack wear the C. If I had my druthers, I want to see Ryan O'Reilly wearing the cap.
I'm all for it.
I think that guy's leadership. O'Reilly is a guy that needs to be around talented players. When O'Reilly plays with talented guys, and you see him play with Team Canada, you see what Ryan O'Reilly can be. His top end is the top end of the league, and it's all over the ice. It's the 200-foot game. He is a true 200-foot game guy. He's their number one face-off guy. He's the number one center. He does it defensively. If they need a penalty kill, he's out there. If they need him on the power play, he's out there. To me, Jack's just too young at this point to be wearing the C. Now, he's going to look at Connor McDavid and go, that guy's wearing the C, and if they ever do win a cup, if Edmonton ever wins a cup, he's going to get to hoist the Stanley Cup first. And I think an ego thing, guys want that. They want to take the picture with the commission, be the first guy to have their hands on the cup. I truly believe that's part of the incentive, but you also want to be the leader in the locker room more than anything else. That's maybe the added bonus to it. I don't know that Jack is that type of guy right now. I wouldn't mind seeing him with the A, but I like O'Reilly with the C. Again, this is all predicated on if they don't sign Gianta and if they don't give it to Pominville and all that stuff.
So and we were talking about this before we came on with all this crazy news coming down. Another deal this morning that interested me was Brian Elliott. Even though he's always going to be a St. Louis Blue to me, goes to the Flyers. And they've been trying to shore up that netminder for a little while now. Yep. Michael Neuwirth, I think,
former
currently
Sabre.
What?
Former Sabre. Michael Neuwirth was here had a cup of coffee in Buffalo before he was traded.
Hey, Tim Hortons, I'm sure. So Neuwirth, I think, is the only goalie on the roster right now. He was 11-11 last year. It's funny. So when I went to Penn State, the big guy was Bobrovsky, and he was known most for his lack of aptitude with the English language, his lactitude, I guess you could say, more so than what he actually did.
Are you talking about Brizgalov? Ilya Brizgalov? Not Bobrovsky.
Yeah,
Bobrovsky is the Columbus goal. Is the Columbus net.
Oh no, that's what I was going to say.
Brizgalov.
So I think they're on the team at the same time. So that's more Brizgalov. But now you have Bobrovsky. He was first team All NHL.
Yeah.
So they've been looking for somebody. I mean, Ray Emery's mostly known for fighting, as opposed to what he did on the ice. Another guy kind of like that.
Yeah.
So they're looking for it. Let's see if Ellie can do it. He's a big name. Let's see where he is at this point in his career. And then also, I'm an Avs guy. Got to get in there quick. Colin Wilson. He was just in the Stanley Cup Finals with Nashville, scored a couple goals in the playoffs, but it's another guy under 20. This team has so much under 20 talent. Matt Duchene's still under 20. Varlamov in net. You have Gabby Landeskog and Nate McKinnon. This young talent has to turn into a much better record, obviously, than this past season at some point. So we'll see.
And there's a lot of buzz right now about Duchene. It doesn't sound like Duchene's going to be with the Avs very long. But I mean, again, that's been the talk for months.
He's been
now.
good. Yeah,
it's been the talk. He has been in, and that's got to be, to have that linger over your head has got to just be awful. Because isn't Duchene a local kid there? Isn't he a Colorado kid?
Yeah, and then on top of that, he's been a very big piece of this team for a long time now, and their record last year cannot sit well with a guy like that.
Yeah. The last one I wanted to talk about quickly for the NHL was a guy that played in the Stanley Cup Final, in Nick Bonino. He is going to walk across the aisle, so to speak, and sign with Nashville. 4-year deal, $16.4 million, it's been reported. A little awkward if you're Nick Bonino. Listen, I get that that's maybe a good situation, and that's a good team. They've got a good head coach in Laviolette. It's a fun town to play in. But man, you just got done beating those guys. Now you're gonna walk into the locker room with your Stanley Cup ring and go, "Hey boys, I'm here." That's got to be maybe the most awkward transition of the offseason. Just keep the ring at home, Nick. That's all I would advise. All right. Anything else in the NHL?
I think we're good.
All right. why don't you promote who we got this weekend in terms of the FOTS?
We got Justin Rock, who is with the single A affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals, formerly with the double A affiliate of the Chicago Cubs. So he got to see and is currently seeing plenty of good talent there. But he knows his MLB across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have him talk right after, I think it's 8 o'clock on ESPN or TBS. Those are different channels. Is the MLB 2017 All-Star Game selection show. So we'll see. We'll see who makes it, who doesn't make it. That's a little snubberific. So.
Well, it'll be interesting. July 4th, I mean, we got to talk things that are All-American, and to add on to that, we'll be joined by Will Cleveland, our beer guru extraordinaire, to talk a little bit about American beers. So I figured that's
You're damn right.
the appropriate thing to do on July 4th weekend. All right. Remember, you can find these on YouTube, the video version on YouTube, audio version on iTunes and Google Play. Check out the podcast every Monday on iTunes and Google Play. Subscribe, rate, and review if you're an Apple iTunes user. You can find Matt on Twitter at TrabsMatt. I'm at SportsByBond. The show at TBD_show. On Instagram, he's at Scooty Minx. I'm at SportsByBond. The show is To Be Determined show. And you can email the show, tbdmailman@gmail.com. We're moving closer to the major World Wide Web announcement. Not quite ready to announce it yet, but we're getting there. I'm just going to build up the hype until we're finally ready for this announcement on the World Wide Web. If that gives you any indication whatsoever, it should give it away completely, but maybe it doesn't. As Matt said last time, when I tried to make the major announcement, he had no idea what was going on, and he co-hosted the show. So I thought that was great. Hopefully he's got some clue now. Hopefully we'll be able to do this sooner rather than later. I'll just say it's to steal one again from the 76ers, it's a process. What I've been doing is a process, and it's not my forte, to put it that way.
Trust it.
All right, brother. I will we'll see everybody on Monday, and I will see you on Sunday, sir.
Nope.